Alright, so in this video, I want to show you how to create testimonials so you can boost your credibility. Simple questions. Would you believe me if I told you that I created the best software in the world and that if you become a customer, you'll make a lot more money than what you spend to use it? If you don't know me, you probably think, okay, another like internet guru, etc. Like if you watch my video, potentially I have built enough credibility for you to trust me. But in general, people will end up on your website and don't know exactly who you are, especially if you want to scale your business. So I've got few businesses, a lot of like software that are generating like millions of revenue every single year. And testimonials are actually what can make or break a website. So if we go to Lemlist, which is a tool that I started like in 2018, if you first start to see like all the logos like Zendesk, Uber, Scaleway, Shaper, etc., and then you start seeing people and the results that they get, eventually you start building a lot more social proof, a lot more trust. Then if you start adding and start seeing like more videos of potential customers like this one where they say that basically they had a huge ROI, etc., then the conversion rate will increase a lot. So I've done tests on many of my different websites and I can tell you that if you don't have testimonial, the conversion rate will be a lot lower. And that's what I'm saying here. So if you see that my software is used by tens of thousands of companies around the globe, all these companies are making a lot of money, and you start seeing testimonials like the one I just showed you, would you believe it now? Probably a lot more. So no matter who you are and what you've built, but for me, testimonials are the best way to build trust at scale and convert a lot more users. What I want to share with you in this video, it's the exact process I use to create testimonials. And that cost me like $0. So it's free to do it. I will share with you like templates and the step-by-step, the tools I use, the setup, etc. That are all the testimonials you can find on Lemlist, Lemcal, Typelio, etc. Like all my tools essentially. So you're probably wondering what's a testimonial? It's positive review of your product or service. So it doesn't matter actually if you're selling a software, a service, a consulting service, a copywriting service, you will need testimonial. This principle of social proof is based on the fact that when we are uncertain about a decision, we tend to look at what other people are doing to guide our behavior. And this study is quite actually fun. Jesse made like a little drawing, which is pretty cool. There was an experiment with a trusted expert who told a group of spectators that a certain horse, we're going to call it Speedy, was expected to win the race based on insider information. Even if Speedy didn't have the best track records or odds, everyone started betting on Speedy just because a trusted expert basically has mentioned that Speedy was going to win. And that's exactly the same as a social proof. The reality is like in a world where you have so many options whenever you want to buy something, all you got to do is build enough trust that people want to go with you. The reason why I'm mentioning like the expert and this experiment is because your goal is to choose customers who will be perceived as trusted and reputable so you can build more trust and close more deals. Let me give you an example. Typically with Lemlist, whenever I got started, I had very different type of customers. I had sales teams who were using Lemlist to book more meetings and close more deals. I had like founders who were just starting their businesses. I had like HR who were doing like talent sourcing, marketers who were doing like B2B backlink building, etc. So down the line, the only focus I wanted is sales team. So you need to choose a reputable person. So they essentially need to build more trust when visitors will be on the website. For me, there are main criteria when you should select customers for testimonials. First one is customers' reputation in a specific industry, results that you've delivered, longevity of the relationship, and relevance to your target audience. In the beginning, we're usually not very picky about who to work with simply because we need to generate revenue quickly. Like in my agency, when I got started, like in, I don't know, I think it was 2016 or 2017, I would take on any customers, even though I knew they were not a fit. I just wanted to generate revenue, and it's fine at first because you will get used to it. You need to train, you need to develop your skills, etc. But down the line, you will need to pick the customers who you want to work for. And I'm just going to try to simplify this as much as possible. But essentially, if you pick customers who are not in your target audience, they are not going to get the value that they expected, which means that they are going to be unhappy customers, which means that they will not recommend your product, which means that you are damaging your brand identity, which means that down the line, you're not creating word of mouth. However, if you choose the right target audience, you deliver the right result to them, they are happy, they recommend the product, you have more word of mouth, which means you have more customers and your company will grow a lot faster. So it's very important that you find the right target audience when doing testimonials. As your customer base grow, you must become more selective and work only with the right customers. There is something that's called the 100 100 true fan strategy. And one of the best ways to attract the right customers is to publish testimonials from your most representative customers. As I mentioned, in our case with Lemlist, I wanted to focus on sales team, so I just started to focus on sales team. Let me give you an example. Let's say that your copywriters was focusing only on like SaaS funders, but let's say you also have positive reviews from, I put a funny joke here, like your mom's cousin Tony was like a butcher. It doesn't make sense to interview them because it's not who you want to work with in the future. Like unless you want to work with more butcher and that's fine. You know, I have nothing against Tony nor like butchers, but the reality is like you should only focus with the target you want to work with. And the best way to select like the target audience is essentially to look at the people who have the best results, people who have the lowest churn, meaning like they're not canceling like their subscription, people who are the easiest to close. And when you combine those three, you should find like your perfect target, your star target. So how exactly now you get to have them to agree to give a testimonial? The reality is like people, whenever I receive like things like, hey G, like leave us a review, I think it looks like shit, to be honest. Instead of making it about you and just asking them to say something nice about your product or service, you are going to make it about them, and I'm going to show you how. Ask them if they'd like to be interviewed for a testimonial that will be read by hundreds, if not thousands of people, and give them and their business a huge exposure. So this is the actual trick. I'm going to show you exactly like what I've done in the Lemlist campaign. So here, the subject line was like chance to showcase your business to millions. Obviously, it will trigger the curiosity and eventually like people will open. So, hey, Lemlisters. If you watch my previous video, remember I used to do this all the time. So it's been more than 2 years since we started our journey together. So essentially here, I took all the customers on Lemlist that have been with us for more than 2 years, but you can define any criteria you want. First of all, I want to personally thank you for your loyalty. Your success is our biggest motivation, and it would be awesome to learn more about you and how Lemlist has helped you grow. I'd love to join on a call and record our conversation to showcase your success story on the new Lempire website. Once published, the whole team will communicate about the launch, will give you a huge visibility boost, 300,000 plus in our newsletter, 10 plus million monthly views on LinkedIn. We only have 5 spots for this interview and they're filling up super fast. To apply a slot, please book it ASAP. So here, as you're going to see, I've done 2 things. First things first, the email and the subject line needs to trigger curiosity because you want people to open it. Then I start with something like pretty kind as an intro line. And very quickly, I jumped into what's in it for them. So I'm answering this question by saying that they're going to get huge visibility, which link it to basically the subject line. And eventually, because you want people to take action, you need to add what we call scarcity. Scarcity is when something becomes very, very rare. And in that case, if there is only 5 spots left, people will want to seize the occasion and they're gonna book directly a meeting. Then I just push them towards like my Lemcal, which is basically a dynamic landing page with a video where they can basically like book. I'm fully booked this month, but okay, I'm fully booked for a few months, but eventually they can just like book meetings and essentially like I can record the testimonial directly. And the other reason this booking page converts really well, it's just because they are like so personalized. You can add pretty much like whatever you want, like videos, posts, etc. And my goal here, whenever I send an email that is just a text and push them here, is to add a video with a lot more like personality. As you can see, like this right now is a Loom video. Essentially, you could do the same. So here you can change the size of whatever you're doing. Here, I could just like record a Loom video like this or like this if I want and put it here. But the idea would be to say something like, hey, welcome on this page. Only like 5 spots left. Super happy to have you here. I know like it will fill in like very quickly. So make sure to book it ASAP and I'll see you on the other side. Peace. So you see, it's like something very chilled, but that just want people, you know, like to meet up with you and have a chat. When you're a founder of a company, or even if you work as like head of marketing or whatever, people usually like if they use your product, they're happy, they're having good results. They're always happy like to share it. And which will come afterwards to how do I record? What are the things I used? Here, I explain pretty much like everything. By the way, like no need to take notes because I'm going to share with you like everything. So you don't have to take any notes, pause the video. Going back now, essentially, I've shown you how exactly you can, on your end, have people to come to testimonials. Like this gives us insane results. I will also put the link to this campaign so you can essentially duplicate it. Now you're wondering like, what are the questions I should ask for like a good testimonial? Very simple. 1, can you introduce yourself and explain what you do? 2nd, what problem did you want to solve with my product or service? Here, this question is like really, really good because everything that people are going to say here is something that you can use in your marketing page, in your copy. So typically like Lemcal, initially the tagline we had was, I canceled my Calendly subscription for Lemcal, or like I wanted to reduce like no-show rate. And just from the verbatim of people, you can basically find your tagline and really have something that will strike your target audience. Then it was like, what were you doing before using my product or service? Here, the goal is to convince people that your product is the right product. So let's say that you're selling something and that you're replacing like spreadsheets, for example. Let's say you've built a CRM. Eventually, like someone could be like saying, hey, like before I was doing everything manually. I had like my big spreadsheet and I just switched to that CRM and that was like amazing. If some people comes on your website and is using like a spreadsheet, what do they gonna think? This is for me. This is the exact tool I need. So that's why you really need to go to that question. Then it's what results did you get? The idea is to get future customers excited about what they can do. You want as much numbers as possible. So in the Lemlist case, what we usually look, it's at revenue generated, meeting booked, open rate, all these kind of things, like any metrics. The more metrics, the more specific, the better. And finally, what's unique about my product or service that you can't find anywhere else? So this is like usually great also like to help for your marketing for later, but also sometimes people say just really cool stuff that will help you close more deals. So sometimes they're going to say, I'm not tech savvy. I know that for me, it's hard like to use like software, but your support, customer support is amazing. So now if you had someone visited your website and was like a bit stressed because they're not tech savvy and they see that there is an amazing support, of course, they're going to be convinced. The goal here is to answer essentially all your customers' objections. And that's why you need to have a lot of testimonials. So eventually later on, you can like put them together and create something pretty awesome. Now comes to the technical setup. To be honest, you don't need like much. I like to do it on Zoom because Zoom is essentially like allowing me to record all my conversation, but you can also do it with Google Meet, and from Google Meet, put basically like the full resolution. And then after that, you just have to record it with QuickTime Player. So both are free. Everything is free. So that's very cool. If you have like a MacBook Pro, this is a camera I'm using right now. As you can see, the image is like pretty good. And I would recommend having a light. If you're like in a room with no window, buy a ring light. It costs like $25. It's literally like super cheap. And I used to use that. Now, obviously, like we have a more like professional studio. So as you can see, we have like better lights, etc. But to be honest, in the early days, I never used anything else than a ring light that I paid like very cheaply. So no stress. Now, of course, like I have like a good microphone, but you've seen it in my previous video. I used to record everything with my headphones, and the headphones with the microphone are usually like good enough, to be honest. So not a lot of stress. Now you're probably wondering, how exactly do you turn like your testimonial into dollars? So into like an asset. Typically, you need to understand who do you help, how do you help them, and what result do you bring. I'm just going to jump directly onto something that we did. Scalability, for example, is an agency who's using Lemlist, and they tripled their annual recurring revenue just thanks to Lemlist sequences. Here we have basically the whole team presentation, the questions, some quotes, etc., what they were doing before, how they helped getting results, and you can give as much details as possible. Ideally, again, you know, like if you can show some reply rate, some results. So here, for example, they had like 12 meetings booked out of reaching like just 100 people, which is really good. And eventually, like the more you do it, the more you're going to showcase your customers, and the more, you know, like other customers are going to be willing to also share their success stories. If you have happy customers and if they are happy to share, which means that more people are going to be happy to share also, more people will recommend your tool, and so on and so forth. So it's really like a growth loop that you should focus on. And I am really surprised by how few people are doing actual testimonials. If you look at your marketing team, if you look at your founder or whatever, if they're not talking to their customers on a regular basis to record testimonials, they're doing something wrong. Like, I'm sorry to say that, but it's the truth. Your customers should be like your number one focus. And during these calls, this is where you get all the gold. And I've seen it in so many like companies. I've invested in like tens of companies where I see the founders not really talking to customers, the marketing team who is afraid to reach out to customers to get like a testimonial and shit like that. Like, I feel like people are just leaving so much money on the table because this is a gold mine. When you have this, then you can create a lot of content around it. You can reuse it, and it adds so much social proof. Like, don't do the selling. Okay, let's take dating, for example. Dating and selling, for me, it's like more or less the same. If you have one person who comes out and say like, hey, I'm the best, I'm handsome, I'm very like sportsy, I'm super smart, you're just going to think that person is a dick, like that they're like so full of themselves. You're not going to say they are cool. However, if You have a friend of you who speaks highly about you and says that person really amazing, really inspiring. You should definitely meet them, etc., etc. How is the person when you're going to meet them react? Of course, they're going to be excited just because someone else talked highly about you. And that's exactly the same about testimonial. Testimonial is about having someone else talk highly about your service or your product. Because when you have another person who has no interest in sharing that they had good experience with you and your service or product, then the conversion rate is like a lot higher. As I was mentioning, something that's really important down the line whenever you're creating your testimonials is to add like CTAs, so call to actions. So here typically like we drive a lot of signups directly from these testimonials just because like people are quite hyped and excited about like the success stories and they want to replicate it for themselves. So if you sell a service, it could just be like book a meeting or a discovery call with me. You could push them to like a LEM call. What I would even do like personally is try to make videos from the source. So if you have like a LEM call like this, I would basically create like one calendar for people coming from testimonials and then here have a dedicated video like, hey, you probably just saw some of the testimonials we got from user. I'm super excited that potentially we could help you get the exact same results. All my availabilities are on that side. And also please make sure to answer all the questions. That way I can come prepared to the meeting and try to bring value as much as possible to you. See you on the other side. Just a simple video like this. Again, always focus on your conversion, always focus on the overall experience because down the line, you want to build strong relationship and close as many deals as possible and grow your business. And obviously what you want to have is record all the videos of the interviews you've made. You can use that with your team. You can give them to your sales team so they understand better the customers. Marketing team should be able to reuse it in the website copy. You can use it on the website directly, like all the videos, because it will give even a better experience just to see like people talking rather than just having words. Because a lot of people believe that they're made up when they don't actually see the person talking, which, like I guess dropshippers or, other internet scammers have used like fake testimonials for so long that sometimes people are a bit like on the line on whether or not, it's real. So videos are really great for that. Overall, if I had to sum up, testimonials doesn't cost you anything to create. And it's literally like the best way to increase your conversion rate and build more trust with your customers. I hope that this video was useful. You will find in the description the link to that Notion doc with the templates, the links, and everything you need to succeed and make your life super easy. I hope it was helpful. Have an awesome day. Peace, love, and profit.